Hello everyone, myself Siddharth Patel, Assistant Professor from Department of Political Science and Public Administration, the Bhopal School of Social Sciences. In this video, I am going to explain you the objective and principles of Indian foreign policy. In previous video, we have already discussed that what is foreign policy. When a state interact in the outer world, it is known as its foreign policy. Like, let us take for example, how India interact in the outer world, how India interact with the other nation, as well as how India interact with non-state actor, that is terrorism, environmental issue, human rights issue. It is known as foreign policy. Now let us come to our topic, that is objective and principle of Indian foreign policy. I will begin with the objective of Indian foreign policy. India became a sovereign nation by the middle of 20th century, and Indian leaders formulated foreign policy with clear-cut aim and objective. We got independence in 1947, and from 1947 onwards, we have started framing our foreign policy. Our first Prime Minister, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, has formed the Indian foreign policy, as well as he was the foreign minister till 27th May 1964. The foreign policy of a country drafted with the national interest with clear-cut aim and objective. Every country's foreign policy is based on the national interest. India always draws or India always frame its foreign policy keeping in mind the interest of India or Indian citizen. The first and foremost objective of Indian foreign policy is to maintain territorial integrity of India. This becomes much more important because India's territory got adversely affected with the independence as a result to partition of Indian territory through foreign policy. So, as we got independence, Indian territory was divided into two countries, one being Pakistan and another being India. So, the first objective of Indian foreign policy was to maintain its territorial integrity as it was a need of an hour and it was very crucial for India. India want to create an effect on neighboring country to respect the market boundary. As you are aware about our neighboring countries, so India want to create a deterrence that we have to maintain the territorial integrity as well as we have to respect each other territorial integrity. Therefore, India comes with this objective to maintain territorial integrity. The second objective of Indian foreign policy is to ensure economic growth and development. Economic growth and development is very much important as a country is known as developing, developed or underdeveloped by the economic development. Every country respects you if you are a developed country. You can take an example of USA. In many instances, we have witnessed that USA is not correct. Still, every country follow the orders of USA because we know it is a developed nation. So, the second objective of Indian foreign policy was to ensure rapid economic growth and development. It is now rapid economic growth and development was possible through healthy relationship with the major countries. India tried to export as much as possible and to reduce our import, so that we can become an economically developed or economically self-sufficient nation. So, Indian leaders try to promote the export-oriented policies. Now, the third major objective is to promote a democratic peace order. As you are aware, from 1947 onwards, India always promoted democracy. And we always tried that every country should promote democracy in the world, every country should maintain a democratic world order. Since independence, India emerged to be the world's largest democracy in the world, all across the world, and decided to promote such system. So therefore, India tried to maintain a democratic relation with all other countries as well as India tried to promote democratic peace order throughout the world. Now, the fourth objective is to ensure global peace and security. As we are a responsible country, as we are a democratic country, India always tried to maintain a global peace and order. We always promoted global peace and order even in the different countries. India since independence began to support United Nations organ and Security Council to maintain peace and security by providing largest military forces in the form of peacekeeping force. With the help of these forces, several regional and bilateral issues have been resolved. So, it is an important element of Indian foreign policy to maintain global peace and security. If you will see all these objectives, we still try to maintain all these objectives in our foreign policy. Whenever you have witnessed the speech of our foreign minister or our prime minister, we try to incorporate all these objectives in our foreign policy. I think you are clear with the objective of the foreign policy. Now, all these objectives are based on the practical consideration, that is realistic in nature. These objectives are achievable, these objectives are realistic. But at the same time, Indian foreign policy is been incorporated by several idealistic principles that are moreover tilted towards values that are little bit difficult to achieve. So let us have a glance over the principle of Indian foreign policy, and these principles are moreover tilted towards idealism rather than realism. So the first and foremost principle has been derived from the Buddhist faith, which is known as Panchashil, and it is the most important principle of Indian foreign policy. Now the Panchashil include 5 objectives or 5 components. The first component of the Panchashil is mutual respect for territorial integrity and sovereignty. Second being non-aggression against each other or any form. Third, non-interference in each other internal affair. Fourth, mutual equality and benefit at the global level. And fifth, peaceful coexistence. So all these 5 components compose of a Panchashil agreement, and the Panchashil agreement compose of 5 things that you are aware about. Panchashil agreement mainly talk about peace. Panchashil agreement mainly talk about respect for each other country. Panchashil agreement mainly talks about mutual equality. Panchashil agreement talks about benefit for all the countries. So it is the first and foremost principle of Indian foreign policy. Now the second principle of Indian foreign policy is non-alignment. As you are aware that the world was divided into 2 blocks, the one being capitalist bloc headed by USA and another being communist bloc headed by USSR, that is Soviet Union. So at the time of independence, India was having an option to either join a capitalist bloc or to join a communist bloc. But Indian leader thought that we should not join any of these blocs and we should pursue a neutral approach. So the Indian leader came up with an non-alignment movement. In non-alignment movement, India has neither joined the capitalist bloc that is headed by USA, nor India was aligned to communist bloc. India tried to maintain a neutral approach as we got independence just now, so we were thinking that we should gain from both these countries or we should gain from both these blocs. So Indian leader tried to promote the principle of non-alignment. It is an important step in Indian foreign policy. Now the third principle is based on the complete opposition to any form of racial discrimination. India from beginning was opposed to any kind of racial discrimination. If you have heard the racial discrimination in the South Africa, if you have heard the racial discrimination in the America, India was completely opposed to these racial discrimination. We believe in complete equality. So Indian foreign policy was based on the complete racial discrimination, was based on complete ban on racial discrimination. And this principle gave a huge amount of acceptance to the Indian foreign policy. Every country has followed this principle, or every country has accepted this principle of Indian foreign policy. So it was all about the principle. Now here one more principle, and the most important principle is left, that is the nuclear disarmament. Nuclear disarmament means India is not keen to be a nuclear weapon country, means we do not want to throw nuclear weapon here and there. We are a nuclear capable country, no doubt we have all the strength. But Indian foreign policy is about no first use. We are a responsible country. We try to maintain a global peace and order. So Indian nuclear disarmament policy says that there is a no first use of nuclear weapons from Indian side, which become the most important global community, as we have seen that the nuclear attack on Japan by USA. So India came up with the idea of nuclear disarmament. This was the one of the most important principle of Indian foreign policy. I think we are done with the objective of Indian foreign policy as well as the principles of Indian foreign policy. So we have discussed what is foreign policy, what are objective and principle of the foreign policy. In next video, I am going to explain you about the determinants of Indian foreign policy. What are the factors that define the foreign policy of India? We'll see you in the next video. Thank you.